Imagine dying, and instead of heading off to the afterlife, you are thrown into a game. A game where it feels like dying in the first place would have been a better option. That's how Gantz begins. No warning, no explanation, just death, followed by something far more twisted. You are thrown into a room with strangers, given weapons you don't understand, and are forced into missions where survival feels more like luck than skill. And at first, it almost feels like a game. But that illusion doesn't last long because Gantz doesn't play fair. The violence is sudden, brutal, and completely unforgiving. People don't get heroic moments, they just disappear. 1 second they're there, the next, gone. No build-up, no mercy, but here's where it really messes with you. The anime doesn't just rely on gore, it mixes that chaos with extremely questionable and suggestive content that shows up without warning, making everything feel even more unstable. And this is where it gets worse. The real focus isn't the monsters, it's the people. Fear strips them down completely. You see selfishness, desperation, even cruelty take over as survival becomes the only thing that matters. Friendships don't last, morality doesn't last, nothing lasts. And slowly, you realize this isn't about escaping or winning. It's about watching how far people are willing to fall when they're pushed to the edge. And once that thought settles in, Gantz stops feeling like a story and starts feeling like a nightmare that doesn't let you out. And after watching something like that, you'd think anime has already crossed every possible line, but it hasn't. Because what you just saw, that's only the beginning. There's an entire side of anime that just doesn't aim to entertain. It exists to unsettle. It exists to provoke, and sometimes just straight up makes you question why it was created in the first place. These aren't your typical dark shows with a bit of edge to it. These are the ones people avoid talking about completely. The ones that got banned, censored, or buried over time. And the worst part, each one of them disturbs you in a completely different way. Some hit you with raw brutality, some with psychological damage, and others with things that just feel wrong on a level you can't really explain. So if you thought Gantz was already too much, just know it only gets worse from here. Because this is the list of the forbidden anime shows that will haunt you forever. And the prime example of that is Midori. This show literally defines how disturbing an anime can get, because this time there are no monsters, no missions, no chaos to hide behind, just pure reality. Stripped down and made as uncomfortable as possible. Midori isn't about survival in a deadly game, it's about being trapped in a life where escape doesn't exist. The story follows a young girl constantly pushed deeper and deeper into a world of exploitation, and the anime doesn't hold back in showing it either. The disturbing part is how direct it is. Scenes of abuse, humiliation, and control. They aren't implied or softened, they're presented in a way that forces you to sit there and take it in. And this is where it hits differently. There's no action to distract you, no pacing to give you relief. It's slow, repetitive, intentional. Like the goal isn't to shock you, but to wear you down. The simple, almost innocent-looking art style only makes it worse, creating a contrast that makes every moment feel more cruel. And unlike most dark anime, there's no hope here. No payoff, no escape, it just keeps going, and by the time it ends, it doesn't feel like you watched something disturbing. It feels like you went through something you weren't supposed to see. And if Midori felt unbearable because of how real it was, Demon Beast Invasion goes in the complete opposite direction. And somehow, it makes it even worse. Because this time, it's not grounded, it's exaggerated, chaotic, and completely unrestrained. This is the kind of anime that doesn't just cross lines, it builds its entire identity around breaking them. There's no balance here, no breathing room, just a non-stop barrage of suggestive, disturbing content that's meant to shock you. Even the weird and spicy violence isn't implied or toned down, it's front and center, presented in a way that makes it impossible to ignore. And unlike other dark series that try to justify their tone with story or emotion, this one barely tries. The narrative feels secondary, almost like an excuse to move from one disturbing moment to the next, and that lack of grounding makes everything feel more uncomfortable. Like you're watching something with no purpose beyond pushing boundaries. It's chaotic, oppressive, and unapologetic in what it shows, and by the time it's over, you're not thinking about the plot, you're just left wondering how far an anime is willing to go when it doesn't hold itself back at all. Then comes Wicked City, which is a completely different kind of disturbing because it doesn't hit you all at once, it creeps in slowly. On the surface, it looks stylish, noir aesthetics, secret agents, a hidden war between humans and demons, but underneath all that style, is something far more unsettling. Like the spicy content here, it's just not for shock. It's woven into the world itself, especially through eerie and uncomfortable interactions between humans and demons that blur the line between attraction and danger. These scenes aren't exaggerated or loud, they're quiet, almost casual, with somehow making things worse. The anime doesn't stop to emphasize them, it just moves on, leaving you to process what you just saw, and that's where it gets under your skin. There's a constant sense that something's off, that no one is truly safe, and that the line between normal and monstrous doesn't exist anymore. It's subtle, it's tense, and by the end you realize it didn't need to overwhelm you, it just needed to stay with you. And then there's Violence Jack, where subtlety just doesn't exist in the first place. This is a pure, unfiltered chaos that is taking place in a post-apocalyptic world where society has completely collapsed. From the very beginning, it throws you into extreme brutality, and it never slows down. The violence is already excessive, but what makes it infamous is how it combines that with disturbing, suggestive brutality that's shown in a very direct, unapologetic way. There's no attempt to ease the viewer into it, it just keeps escalating, scene after scene, pushing everything to the extreme. Every encounter feels like it's trying to outdo the last, not in storytelling, but in sheer intensity. And what really hits is the complete absence of hope. There's no justice, no recovery, just survival in a world that's already beyond saving. The characters reflect that broken reality where morality barely exists anymore, and by the end of it, it doesn't feel like a story with a conclusion. It feels like you've been dragged through the mud, through something relentless, something that never once tried to hold back. And after something that loud, that chaotic, that completely unrestrained, you'd expect the next one to ease off just a little, but it doesn't. It just changes how it disturbs you, really. Because have you ever watched an anime that looks clean and stylish and then suddenly realize something is seriously wrong? That right there is Kite. It starts like a polished assassin story, smooth animation, sharp action, a protagonist who seems calm and in control, but that image doesn't last long. Beneath all that polish is a system built on manipulation, where the main character isn't just carrying out missions, she's being controlled. And yeah, the spicy scenes are not random at all, they're directly tied to that control, which makes them feel even more uncomfortable instead of shocked. And this is where it gets worse. The anime doesn't frame these moments as something disturbing, it just drops them in and moves on as if nothing happened. No dramatic buildup, no emotional reaction, just silence that is forced on you to process it on your own. And that makes it pretty hard to watch, even during the action-heavy moments. That unease just doesn't go away. You start noticing the small details, the way authority figures act, the lack of real choice, the sense that everything is predetermined. It stops feeling like a story about a skilled assassin and starts feeling like something much darker. And once that realization settles in, every scene, it just feels off. Not intense, not thrilling, just deeply uncomfortable in a way that lingers. Then the tone shifts completely here because Scum's wish doesn't rely on violence or chaos, it just uses emotions. And somehow that cuts a little deeper. This anime is built on messy relationships where people knowingly use each other to fill emotional gaps they don't truly understand. And that's what makes it disturbing. There's no external force pushing them. They're fully aware of what they're doing and they keep going anyways. The suggestive or the intimate side here isn't graphic. but it's always present through intimate scenes that feel intentionally uncomfortable. Not because of what's shown, but because of what it represents. Loneliness, replacement, the need to feel something, anything, even if it's fake. And the anime doesn't rush past those moments, it lingers in them. The silence, the awkward pauses, the tension in every interaction, it all builds this heavy atmosphere that never really lifts, and this is where it just hits. When characters get what they think they want, but it doesn't feel satisfying. It feels empty. Like something is just missing. That emotional void stays constant from start to finish. You don't walk away shocked. You walk away drained, like you just watched something a little too real. If the previous ones were disturbing in different ways, Mnemosyne takes them and makes them relentless. The concept sounds simple, characters who can't die, but the anime twists that into something far more brutal. Because now suffering doesn't end, it repeats itself. And the show makes sure you feel every second of it. It doesn't cut away or soften anything. It lingers, stretching moments out into a way that feels almost intentional. And yeah, the intimate content is there too, blending violence and graphic content in a way that feels cold rather than emotional, like it's just another part of the system. But here's what really makes it unsettling. No one reacts the way you expect. There's no panic, no shock, no resistance, just continuation, like everything happening here is normal. That lack of emotional response makes the brutality feel even heavier. The world itself just feels detached, almost clinical. Like pain is just built into how things work. And the tone never shifts to give you relief, by the way. It stays controlled, calculated. Nothing feels random, which makes it worse, because it feels like everything is happening exactly as it is intended. And by the end, it's not just the violence or the explicit moments that stick with you, it's that quiet realization that none of it was ever meant to stop. And then you hit Redo of a Healer, which doesn't just push boundaries, it builds its entire identity around breaking them. This is a revenge taken to an extreme where it stops feeling like justice and starts feeling like domination and humiliation. From the start, it's clear this isn't about healing or redemption, it's about control. The protagonist rewrites reality itself in order to put himself in power, and what follows is filled with extreme, boundary-pushing content tied directly to manipulation, humiliation, and revenge. The anime doesn't hide it, it doesn't soften it, and it certainly doesn't try to justify it in a comforting way at all. It just puts it in front of you and forces you to deal with it. And no, I'm not going to acknowledge the rod scene, because you already know about it, don't you? So, moving on. There's no subtlety here. Everything is exaggerated, and it's pushed to the edge. And it's designed to provoke a reaction. And that's exactly why it blew up the way it did. Whether people hate it or defend it, no one walks away neutral. Because Redo of a Healer doesn't just cross the line, and make sure you're watching when it does. And if all these felt like they were pushing the limits, Urotsukidoji, Legend of the Overfiend, is what happens when those limits don't exist at all. This is the final boss of Forbidden Anime. It doesn't ease into it. It throws you straight into a world of demons, humans, something far more grotesque, where body horror, graphic content, it's all pushed to an extreme that most anime wouldn't even dare to approach. The disturbing part is about how unapologetic it is. The mature visuals, the violence, the transformations, they're not implied, they're shown. They keep escalating like the anime is constantly trying to outdo itself. There's no restraint, and it certainly doesn't pause for a single moment for you to take a breath. It just keeps going and going and going, and the tone just never lets up. It's a continuous spiral of chaos, corruption, madness. You're not following a story, you're watching boundaries get erased in real time. That's why it's still infamous decades later. Not because it was misunderstood, but because it went further than most anime ever will. And once you've seen it, you understand why some things are better left untouched and left alone. All of the censorship laws that were passed after the 2000s only worsened the case, so even if you try to search for it, you only get the censored version of the show unless you decide to visit the Atelier of the Dark Side. But anyways, that's the list for today, guys. If you're able to make it this far, please be sure to comment down below on which moment you think should have been on this list. Or rather, what dark anime do you think should have been here in the first place? I know there's tons out there, but we can't include all of them on a list, we just don't have enough time. Also, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel and press that bell icon and set us all to be notified about all our latest new videos. And don't forget to like the video. But as for now, I'll catch you later. See you in the next one.